speaking of the absolutely damned, Donald Trump's first 100 days. Let's move.
Oh God, has it only been 100 days?
I know.
What?
We're going to talk about the theories later on in this, or the theory. And
what is going on?
Chewie made a joke before he came on here about the 2029. It's only 4 years away, and I was like, yeah, about as long as Donald Trump's going to be in there. It is a long, long time. Donald Trump's first 100 days is up. I was watching a Piers Morgan episode in the last week or so, and they were asking the guy from the Bulwark, Tim, I forget his surname, what are some of the positives that Donald Trump has done in his first 100 days? And he was taking the piss because he said renaming the Gulf of America and disappearing people. I've got 2 interviews that we're going to play now, or clippers from interviews, that I will show you my impressions of Donald Trump and his first 100 days. Here's the first one. This is a photo, that's Donald Trump's hand there, that he's holding up to talk about Abrego Garcia being sent to El Salvador as an MS-13 gangster. Now, I know that many of you have heard this. Chewie's already laughing. I know many of you have already seen this, but just if nothing else, right? Donald Trump's claiming that this is a real tattoo, the MS-13, the thing that looks like it's been made off a typewriter, is not centered on the fingers. Look at that one. Is not interacting with the curved finger at all, right? So this is some evidence. A bit like, remember when he drew the extra bit on the end of that cyclone in Sharpie to say how it was going over a part of the country that he said was going to get hit. But I found this website called it's France 24, and they do a segment called True or Fake, and it's a bit of a is it a hoax kind of thing, and this is what they said about that tattoo.
Well, Yinka, according to the evidence out there, it seems that the MS-13 letters were digitally added onto this photo that Trump is holding, and that the White House also posted. They aren't actually part of Kilmer Abrego Garcia's tattoos. The main proof that is, this photo was photoshopped, being widely shared by users on social media, shared originally on X by El Salvador President Nayib Bukele when Abrego Garcia met with Democratic Senator Van Hollen in the country on April 17th, who traveled to El Salvador in the hopes of aiding his release.
This is called the receipts, by the way.
That we'll take a closer look at, where in the photos you could see the MS-13 figure doesn't appear in Abrego Garcia's
Look at those knuckles, Chewie. There's no MS-13 on them.
Are the other symbols, the marijuana leaf, the smiley face, the cross, and the skull. Abrego Garcia's wife has also made a series of posts on TikTok that also capture his tattoos that we've seen on his hand, minus the MS-13 spelled out. So despite this proof,
they're not
there
there.
are the...
So, I mean, look, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but they're not there, which makes this conversation that Donald Trump has with, is ABC? It is with ABC, one of my examples of how I would synopsize his first 100 days. We are clear, we can be assured, we have no doubt that those tattoos have been added in post. Now, they did say they were added by the El Salvadorian president, or that was one of the photos that came out, so maybe it's not Trump. But he is so on board. So just remember, right, and this interviewer on the right, I'm not saying it's a softball interview, but he tries so hard to go past it. He's like, let's not talk about that. And Trump won't let him go, oh, okay, I understand, let's leave it and move on. He won't let him. Have a look.
Wasn't a member of a gang, and then they looked, and on his knuckles he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was photoshopped. So let me
That was photoshopped, Terry. You can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No.
Isn't it hilarious how he won't it's like this is called digging your own grave. He's trying to.
That's Melania's job.
Sure, that's true. Actually, he's trying to go past it, and he won't let him.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're
in
now.
your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and go on to something.
See, he all he wants is to be right. This is the interesting bit. Why don't you just say it? Why don't you just say it? Like how Bezos today was going to include the tariffs on Amazon's charges, and Trump phoned him, and Bezos went, okay, we won't do that anymore. I'm sorry. So we'll just say yes. You have to just say yes. So whether Trump's right or wrong, like in his head, whether he's lying or not, when people don't say yes to his bullshit, he can't let it go. Why don't you just say yes? That's what he's saying. Why don't you just say yes? And then we can move on, even though he's wrong.
Service.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't
sir.
you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else.
It's contested.
Amazing. We're going to get to a time interview shortly too, but you go first, yeah.
So this is something that I've seen mentioned about Trump for a little while. And I think it's something to be concerned about, just because, he's president of the United States, most militarily powerful country on the planet, is he will basically form an opinion based off the last thing shown to him or the last person to speak to him. And here we have a very clear case of he's seen the same photo we saw, and we've just gone, oh, it's had the MS-13 added on. You can see that in images all the time. He's gone, no, that's his actual tattoos. Got it. Locked in. Not an interpretation, not a code. He went back to that same point that he literally had MS-13 tattooed on his hands. The other example I have of this is his impromptu meeting with Zelensky at the Vatican. Now, that was arranged at short notice of just him and Zelensky sitting in the Basilica talking one-on-one. And then on the way back to America, Trump's going, oh, I think Putin's been lying to me. It's the last person to speak to him holds the power.
Yeah.
So everyone around him, everyone in his administration, everyone that's got this man's ear, it is literally like that scene from Lord of the Rings with fucking Wormtongue whispering in the king's ear. It's that. But in real life, here with a man that can launch nukes.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I said before, he's got form with this, because we all remember this one from his first term, where he had the map of the weather, and because he had said that this place was going to be in the path of it, which it wasn't, he just added it in Sharpie himself. So he's holding up the weather map because just say yes, and we can move on. Just look, weatherman. Okay, you're not going to say yes to me. Well, we'll make it yes, but I'll put it on myself. I'll just put it on. I'll tell you what I want to do now is I want to read some of this story, because that's evidence number one of what I think signifies his first 100 days. The second thing is this Time magazine interview he did. Now, I want to read you this piece here. I'm going to try to read you. I mean, being dyslexic at the best of times, it's not good for me to read publicly, but when you're trying to read Trump, holy crap, it is like speaking Elven, speaking of Lord of the Rings. Okay, so here's a question from the from the interviewer. Your trade advisor, Peter Navarro, says 90 deals in 90 days. Is it possible? We're now 13 days from that point from when you lifted the discounted reciprocal tariffs. There's 0 deals so far. Why is that? No, there are many deals. I won't try and do the voice, I promise. When are they going to be announced? You have to understand I'm dealing with all the companies, very friendly countries. We're meeting in China. We're doing fine with everybody, but ultimately I've made all the deals. Not one has been announced yet. When are you going to announce them? I've made 200 deals. Now, it's really important to know that America trades with about 190 countries, right? They trade with about 190 countries.
So
but apparently Trump more, and then some. He's done 200 deals. That's what he's done. And then Time says, you've made 200 deals? Trump says, 100%. Can you share with whom? Right.
No.
I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to read this, but just think of, this does sound like someone who has been hit in the head too many times. Like, I'm not saying that from a joke. It sounds like someone with brain damage, like who's been in a car accident, who has had an injury to their brain and now can't quite function as well as they once did. Because the deal is a deal that I choose. View it differently. We are a department store and we set the price. I meet with the companies and then I set a fair price, what I consider to be a fair price, and they can pay it, or they don't have to pay it. They don't have to do business with the United States, but I set a tariff on countries. Some have been horrible to us. Some have been okay. Nobody's been, it sounds like he's got two, like that devil and angel on his shoulders at the same time. Some have been terrible. Some have been terrible. Some have been okay. Some have been terrible. Some have been okay. Nobody's been great. Nobody's been great. Everybody took advantage of us. What I'm doing is I will, at a certain point in the not too distant future, I will set a fair price of tariffs for different countries. These are countries. Some of them have made hundreds of billions of dollars, and some of them have made just a lot of money. Very few of them have made nothing because the United States was being ripped off by almost every country in the world, in the entire world. So I will set a price, and when I set the price, and I will set it fairly according to the statistics and according to everything else. For instance, do they have the VAT system in play? Do they charge us tariffs? How much are they charging us? How much have they been charging us? Many, many different factors, right? How are we being treated by that country? And I will set a tariff, and we are paying for their military. As an example, we have Korea. We pay billions of dollars for the military. Japan, billions for those and others. But that I'm going to keep us a separate item, the paying for military. Germany, we have 50,000 soldiers, and then it drifts off.
What the fuck?
That's the leader of the free world, and the man that I think it's to his left has the briefcase with the nuclear arms codes, and that's and we're not letting our prisoners vote, and that's the man who's the leader of the free world. So they're my two interviews. Well, if you ask me how's Trump gone for the first 100 days. There you go. They're my two symbols that I want to throw out there and say, this is how he's done.
Yeah, he's speed running, just completely fucking the US, and it's all under executive order. And if I'm right on this, they're for 90 days, aren't they?
What's for 90 days?
His executive orders.
Oh,
well, run for 90 days, and then Congress has to sign them in.
Oh, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know.
So everything that he has done in these 100 days, the reason that they happen so quickly is that they're all under executive order. Now, they need to be challenged or ratified by Congress. And then if he doesn't do that, then it goes to the Supreme Court, which, of course, is stacked. So who knows where people's loyalties lie there. But this is the ravings of an insane person.
But just so you know, sorry, bro. No, that's not right. In the United States, an executive order, AI don't scrape through Google, executive orders can last indefinitely unless they are revoked by a subsequent president or if they are ruled unconstitutional by a court. Some orders might also have a built-in expiration date, while others take effect immediately. Well, I think that makes more sense, because remember he was saying we're putting the tariffs on hold for 90 days. Maybe that's what you're thinking.
No, I definitely thought that the executive orders had a sunset in them, that Congress or the Senate had to basically ratify them, going, yeah, we're okay with this. Wow, that's worse. That's a whole lot worse. Yeah, that's insane. And I love that we have politicians here that have been looking at MAGA and have been looking at the success of Trump and going, yeah, that's the ticket. I'm looking at you, Winston.
Yeah, but you know what? I guess the problem we have here in New Zealand with MMP is in the countries that seem to be moving to the left. We've just seen it in Canada. You know, word is it's a pretty done thing in Australia, but we'll wait to see. They don't have to think about, well, they only need 6% of the vote. Because, you know, if you're thinking about the Conservatives just lost in Canada, they got more than 6% of the vote. So for those two parties in our electoral, we're kind of going, well, maybe this is a good sign that it's moving towards the left and those guys won't be able to work their Trumpian magic. But the reality is if they make their Trumpian magic, I think the number's about 120,000 people, I think, about that, then they're back. So it's probably not quite the same. Yeah.
I mean, with Trump and just the way that he talks, I mean, I know we've all seen this, but, you know, he's the first person to do this, or he's the one that did it best, or he's made the most money, and everybody's saying it and all of this sort of stuff. But it's got to such remarkable, just not even close to being verifiable. I've made 200 deals. You've made 200
it's not
deals.
possible.
More countries than the US recognizes. Yeah. You've made that many deals.
Or trades with. No, but see what? But you know, he'll double down. If someone said, "But we only trade with 190 countries," he'd go, "Yeah, but some of the countries I did 2 deals with," and then he'll just keep going. You know, I made 2 deals. I made 3 deals with some. Maybe I made 10 deals with one country.
Going back to my earlier point, I think he very well may have made 200 deals, but I think that's people cycling in and out of his office. It's 3 dudes, and they just put on a different hat with a country's name on it, and they go, "I'm here to make. I'm so sorry, Mr. Trump. I'm here to make a deal," and they've done that 200 times. So he thinks that that's real. Like he's made a deal with the new sovereign nation of Smurgerstan. Doesn't exist. Meanwhile, nobody is telling him that the ports of LA and Seattle are empty.
Yep.
Absolutely empty. I am not kidding you, folks. You could look this up. There are websites that will show you ships in transit and that sort of thing. Those 2 ports, some of the busiest trade ports in the world, empty. Where are all those ships? They're just chilling in China. They're just waiting.
Some commentator I saw today said this is like when COVID kicked in and there were supply side issues and the shelves became empty, and they said, but the difference is during COVID, prices didn't go up. The shelves were empty, but the food and that kind of stuff was basically stayed the same price. They're saying they reckon this time the shelves will be empty and there'll be like a 200% premium on the products that are left on the shelves. That's going to be the difference that was predicted by one particular commentator.
So think about the follow-ons from that. All of your port workers, all of your truck drivers, all of your freight handling, all of your warehousing, all of those guys, their jobs are gone. This is unsustainable. Those are not friendly industries that are going to hold on to their workers. They're going to dump people. Those truck drivers in the US, very similar to how they are here. Often they're like contractors. They own the truck. That is their job. They'll go into mortgages for those trucks and that sort of thing. If they're not moving, if they're not making money, they're going down the hole. How many of those guys voted for this? Voted for Trump.